What up guys, it's Joe with Southwest Console Repair. Today we're going to be doing an HDMI port on a PS5. So let's get started. First thing you want to do is remove the covers. Basically there's a tab right in there. You want to lift up on it and pull away, just like that. You're going to have that on both sides. So just pull up on it and push in the direction opposite of those little circles. You can see how it hooks in to the console there. We're going to go ahead and remove these trim pieces, and all you got to do is wedge up under there, give it a nice little tug. Be careful here at the ends. There's a little piece of plastic that kind of goes into the framing there. You got one here on the fan side, and you're going to have another on the opposite side. So we're going to remove those. Same process. Let's remove the factory seal. Just pick up under there. Pull that up. And we're going to remove this cover piece for your fan harness and your disk drive harness. We'll go ahead and remove the disk drive harness, and we're just going to rock back and forth. And if it gives you any difficulty, don't pull on it real hard, just get a set of pliers. It's much easier. You don't want to ruin that. We'll go ahead and disconnect the fan harness as well. So all throughout the console there's different size screws. These are going to be the main screws. When you go to remove the main screws, you're going to notice that there's difference in the thread pitches, the size of the screws and whatnot. This chart may help you to figure out where those screws go. There's little triangles on the console itself, and these screws are associated with that particular triangle. And then this will be really helpful for you when you're putting it back together. One way to keep track of your screws is to put them in a baggie that's labeled. We're going to go ahead and remove the fan. We're going to go ahead and remove the solid state drive expansion bay. We'll go ahead and remove that door. There's also one little screw in there, as well as a spacer. We're going to go ahead and remove all the main screws. One way to get those screws out of the bores is using a magnet. Makes easy work of it. Oops, missed that one. We got 2 additional screws on the back. So all of our main screws are out. Now with all the main screws removed, we can go ahead and remove this cover piece here. So we're going to go in here and we're going to remove this ribbon. Just pry gently underneath the tape here, and if you're careful it'll come out in one piece. If not, not a big deal. There we go. Over here you're going to push down and pull. Make sure you push down and pull, otherwise you're going to ruin the tabs on the actual ribbon itself. And then it won't lock in place. With that ribbon free, we'll go ahead and remove the disk drive. Let's go ahead and disconnect all the ribbons and the pop connectors for the wireless. Be very careful with the pop connectors. You don't want to pull up on these too hard and disallocate them from the board. So just use gentle pressure underneath of them. So we disconnected those. We got another ribbon cable over here. We'll go ahead and set our antennas aside. Antenna cables. Same thing, if you're careful, you can reuse these. If not, whenever I rip them, I just put a piece of BGA tape there. We got all the ribbon cables and the pop connectors out of our way. Now there's 43 screws here, and there's going to be some empty holes, and the problem is when you go to put this back together, you don't know where some of those screws go and don't go. One helpful tip is that you mark an X next to all the holes where a screw's not going to go into. Now that we have little X's marked everywhere that the screws are not going to go, we'll go ahead and remove all these screws. Now we got all the silver screws out. We're going to go ahead and remove this last black screw here. And we're going to go ahead and wedge up on the cover here. Don't pull up on the whole thing just yet, because you do have a ribbon cable that's right there. So you're just going to get your nail up under here or a tool or whatever, and you're going to pull up on this on each side. Be very gentle. You don't want to pull too hard on this. And what you're trying to do is get it unstuck from all the thermal. We're just going to wedge it nice and slow. There we go. And see, what you were pulling up was all the thermal stuff. Set that aside. Go ahead and disconnect this ribbon on the board. Just pull, push down and pull. Be very careful. Alright, we got that undone. Now the power supply prongs are right here. You can see them. And what you're going to do is you're just going to pull up right in that area. Pull up on the board and just kind of wiggle. And just get that to pull up off of the power supply. Be careful. Don't forget to come over here and take this tape off, as I did, because you can pull the power ribbon right off the dang board here. You don't want to have that go bad. Should have did that first. We're going to go ahead and remove the clamp. I like to untwist these one turn at a time or two. Just bring it up nice and even. Now we're going to flip the board over. The reason we're going to flip the board over is so that we can keep all the liquid metal in one place. You're going to have the same thing. You're going to have the thermal little pads in there, and we're going to go ahead and push and pull up. You're going to feel a little resistance, and just bring it up as even as you can. Flip that piece right over. You'll see that's good to go. It didn't get everywhere. And that stayed, most importantly, where it needed to be. what I did is I went down to the hardware store and I got some plastic spacers and some hardware, and that way I'm able to work on the motherboard either right side up or face down. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna have that piece down there like that. We're gonna take this piece and we're gonna spin it just like this. That'll leave that liquid metal right where it needs to be. And we'll go ahead and set that down nice and even and flat. We'll go ahead and put the heatsink clamp back on. We're going to do this nice and evenly. I like to get it snug just where you can barely feel it going. And then I do a couple turns on each one each time. Once I get it nice and tight, I'll go ahead and give it just one extra little spin. Alright, we're all set on that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and set the assembly back in here. We got those 2 pins that are going to go into the power supply, so we're going to be careful with that. We're also going to be careful with our ribbon over here and our pop connectors. We're going to put some pressure down right up in there. Make sure everything's nice and flush and seated and in place. Now that we did that, we're going to connect the ribbon connector back. And that'll just pop right back up in there. Good. And then we'll go ahead and put the lid on. Once we did that, we're going to go ahead and put all our screws back in. Alright, so we got all the screws back in. We went ahead and put our pop connectors, Wi-Fi antennas back in place. Our ribbon here, so everything's back in order as far as that goes. We got rid of the X's using the isopropyl. The little markings on the board there, so we got rid of that. We're going to go ahead and put the disk drive back on now. And so that just sat right there in that location. And we'll just press the ribbon into the connector, tape it down. Now that we got all that in order, we can put the frame back, or panel, whatever you want to call it. And so we'll go ahead and put all of our screws back in place. Okay, we got all our main screws on the top area here, and we also put the 2 back here. And we're going to go ahead and put the bay door stuff in. And so that little spacer goes in there. Put the little smaller screw. Put the bay door on. Slap that in there. We'll go ahead and put the fan on now as well. The fan pretty much goes in one particular way, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You got a notch there and a notch there with your harness closest to the port, and then the shroud here has a little area where the wire can clear. And so we'll go ahead and put our fan back, and we'll put the screws in place. The 2 machine screws go in the back 2 here. The short plastic screw goes right here, and the longer one goes over here. Alright, we'll connect the fan. We'll tuck that wire. We'll go ahead and put the disk drive harness as well in place. Tuck those wires like that. Alright, that's all nice. We'll go ahead and put the cover on. Alright, we'll put the factory seal on. We're going to go ahead and put our trim pieces on. And that completes the repair. Let's go ahead and test it next. Alright, now that we got everything back together, let's go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. Alright, looks like another successful repair here at Southwest Console Repair. I really hope that you enjoyed the video, and if it really helped you out, please like it.